know thyself. So, we are picking up not Henry the Second, Part 4, Henry the Fourth, Part 2, with Act 4, Scene 5. One announcement before we begin. Have any of you started the paper, the review essay paper? Good, don't. I'm going to change it. Big time. Well, I'll just tell you. I'm going to drop it. That paper is gone. Instead of that, you're going to have a essay exam over the Henry the Fourth plays. Okay. Probably going to be due a little bit sooner than that one was due, but it won't be as long. The required length won't be as long. The requirements are not going to be as specifically set out as they were for the comedies exam, which, yes, I know you don't have back yet. They will get back to you. And you will have a week to revise those. Probably the only requirements are going to be you need to have quotations from the plays. Length, number, that's up to you. And probably there will be one or two secondary sources required. So look at what a critic says. As of right now, I've got a draft up of the exam. I think there's currently 4 or 5 topics. I'm probably going to expand that to a couple of more. But that'll be your quote-unquote big quote writing assignment, okay? The last thing for the semester will be probably only Hamlet. Might be more. Off chance, it could be either sonnets or maybe God will intervene and I do Hamlet in like 5 days and then we'll come back and do Henry V or something, okay? But we'll see how that works out. All right, so Henry IV, Part 2, we left off Act 4, Scene 5, okay? And where we left off, I'm going to back up just a little bit. Hal goes in, sees his father asleep, sees the crown sitting next to his father, assumes he's dead because a feather on the pillow next to his father is not moving when his father's facing it. So he thinks, no breath, he's dead. Takes the crown and leaves. It's almost like Shakespeare is suggesting we have no stage directions other than a weakening. It's almost like the moment Hal walks outside the room with the crown, Henry wakes up. Warwick, Gloucester, Clarence. They come running in. Notice, enter Warwick, Gloucester, Clarence. He yells their names. They ought to run in. All right? Why'd you leave me alone? They said the prince was here. Prince of Wales, where? That is, he's not here now. Let me see him. The other door, not the door they came in. This is a different door they're pointing to. Door's open. He's gone this way. Gloucester, he didn't come through the chamber where we were. Okay. King, where's the crown? It's like he suddenly looks and notices the crown that was sitting right next to him is gone. Warwick, it was there when we left. In other words, you jumped to conclusions that you want to jump to. The prince have taken it. Yes. This is about 59-60. Act 4, Scene 5. Yep. What's the king's relationship been with Hal from the beginning of the first Henry IV to this point?
He loves him, but he wants him to be different or better.
I'm going to quibble. How do you know he loves him?
Well,
They have a strange relationship.
Did you say strange or strained?
Strained.
Strained. Good description. Do we assume that he loves him?
he hasn't given up on him, so that's why
He hasn't had him killed. You know. You were going to say something?
Yeah, I think the amount of effort he's put into trying to straighten him out, especially with that last conversation, speaks to it.
I think you're right, Troy. I think it's clear Henry IV does love Hal, okay? Largely because of that. He puts a great deal of effort in the subtext of many of his words about Hal are, dude, you're breaking my heart here. You're making it really hard for me, okay? So, the prince has taken it hence. It's almost like there's a snap. Go seek him out. Is he so hasty that he doth suppose my sleep my death? What do the first four words imply?
He's been wanting this.
Keep going.
Like, he was so anxious for this that he.
What's the for this?
for him to die.
Because?
So he can be king.
Is he so anxious to be king that he thought I was dead? See, that introduces us, wow. So much for love, so much for filial love and responsibility. Find him, my Lord of Warwick. Chide him hither. Now, chide doesn't just mean, hurry up, run, get, that kind of thing. It implies grab him by the scruff of the neck and bring him hither. Okay? This part of his, and my gloss says, this act, this part of his conjoins with my disease. It's joined to my disease and helps to end me. He's causing me to die sooner than I should. See, sons, Gloucester, Clarence, what things you are. Now, I said Gloucester and Clarence because they came running in. What else does that mean? See, those of you out there in the yard, you groundlings, and you people in the stands, see, sons, what things you are. It's like Shakespeare is holding up, language from Hamlet, that mirror to nature and saying, don't be like this. How quickly nature falls into revolt when gold becomes her object. What does he mean by nature? And how does nature fall into revolt? What does it mean to be not the modern understanding, a degenerate? Bad blood. It means to be false to your generator. If you degenerate, you fall away. That's what the D means. You fall away from your nature. Okay? How quickly nature falls into revolt. Revolt's opposition to. When what? When gold is the object. When you want gold, then what? We see this in all kinds of stories. We see it in all kinds of shows and movies. It's the problem of being part of the mob. You're a son, your dad's the boss, you want the power, okay? We see it throughout history, literally. Kings and sons and princes and kings and such. For this, the foolish, over-careful fathers have broke their sleep with thoughts, their brains with care, their bones with industry. Notice, the foolish, over-careful fathers. What does he mean by that? Foolish is obvious in one sense, though, go back to Midsummer Night's Dream, what fools these mortals be, Puck says. About whom? The lovers. Are they fools because of what happens to them because of the love potion? No. They're fools because they're governed, we are governed by seemingly what? Our heart's love, not reason. That's the import of, Bottom's little thing about what a pity it is that reason and love do not go hand in hand, are not neighbors like they once were. They don't work together. Here, what's he talking about? What's he mean by over careful fathers? Here's an example. I think Prince Charles would probably say, to use his language, his dear papa, okay, Prince Philip, his father, that line could not be described about his father. And I think probably William would say it about Charles. There's a history in the English monarchy of sons and fathers, and the fathers being kings to future princes, or future kings, being harsh. Why? Got to train them up for what purpose? Two, really. The first one comes first, and then the other comes after that. One, to be a man, and two, to be a king. So how do they not treat, according to many accounts, how did Prince Philip not treat Prince Charles?
With love.
He gave him the tough love.
Yeah,
Full proponent of the tough love idea, okay? Think it's good for kids. But it has to be tempered, right? There has to be that element of love. That is, the child needs to know that he or she, let's expand it, is loved, okay? The king is saying here, foolish, over-careful fathers, who what? Who break their sleep with thoughts, their brains with care, their bones with industry. What does it mean, break their sleep with thoughts, break their brains with care, break their bones with industry? It's because they are foolish and over-careful. There's a term we use to describe these kinds of parents today. Helicopter parents. They watch over everything the child does. Why? So the kid doesn't fall off the bicycle, or the kid is so wrapped in bubble wrap that no harm can come. He's comparing those kinds of fathers with what? With himself. For this, they have engrossed and piled up the cankered heaps of strange achieved gold. For this they have been thoughtful to invest their sons with arts and martial exercises. That is, they have paid for the best tutoring, training up to be a soldier, training up to be a scholar. Okay? That's the arts, martial exercises, the soldiers. When, like the bee, tolling from, this is an image we've heard before, kind of, like the bee tolling from every flower that is going from this flower to this flower to this flower, etc. Our thighs packed with wax, our mouths with honey, we bring it to the hive. That is, we go to all these different flowers, we get the pollen and such, and we take that to the hive. What's the hive? It's the source, it's the home. And do what? And like the bees are murdered for our pains. That is, we bring all these good, wonderful things into our homes for the benefit of not me, the child, the children, the hive. And what happens as a result? The dirty, rotten SOB ungrateful kills me. Here, metaphorically, his actions are speeding up his death. This bitter taste. What's the bitter taste? He's going to be the death of me. Yields his engrossments to the ending father. Yields his engrossments. It's like this conglomerating onto of illnesses to my illness to speed me to my death. Notice, nobody goes, oh no, great king, that's not true. Your son really loves you. He's just biding his time. Now where is he that will not stay so long till his friend's sickness have determined me? Why didn't Hal sit with me? Kind of determined me, kind of implies to my death. Why was he so eager to take the crown and leave? Warwick, I found him. He was in the next room. Washing with kindly tears his gentle teeth. I should just stop. Gentle cheeks. With such a deep demeanor and great sorrow that tyranny, which never quaffed but blood, that is, tyranny, in order to live, survive, and grow, must drink blood, would by beholding him have washed his knife with gentle eye drops. If tyranny personified had walked into that room and seen your son, the prince, the future king, tyranny would have cleaned its knife to slay others with what? Eye drops. Tyranny would have broken into tears. This is kind of telling us Warwick's mental state. You've got him all wrong, king. You should have seen what I saw. Here he comes. But wherewith did he take away the crown? Wherefore? That's what's nagging him. They all come in, and then the king says, everybody leave. No, not you. You stay. How does Hal say the next line? I never thought to see you again. Is it that? Is it, I never thought to see you again? Or does he have tears streaming down his face? Notice, no stage direction. I never thought to hear you speak again. Have any of you read Dylan Thomas's Do Not Go Gentle into That Good Night? Rage, rage against the dying of the light, you know? The whole poem builds to the final tercet, which are all about what? My Father. On that great height. And the height is the precipice overlooking death. And he says, do what? Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Dying of the night. Why? The implication, this is the way at least I teach it to sophomores. The speaker there sees his father dying. You can read an autobiography if you want. I don't suggest doing that. The speaker sees his father dying and wants what from his father? Anything. Curse me, he says. Speak to me. Why? I can remember my dad's death because his father is silent but still alive. The speaker wants what? Anything. Do say anything. For what purpose? The last voice. Okay? We're going to see in Hamlet, Hamlet's last words. The rest is silence. I never thought to hear you speak again. Thy wish was father, Harry, to that thought. Ouch! What's the king mean?
Like you wanted that much.
You want me to be dead, and that's what engendered that thought that you will never hear me speak again in your mind. That's cold, man. That is really, really cold. Depending upon how Hal says his lines. If Hal says his lines with tears streaming down his face, then what does the king mean? Stop the act. I stay too long by thee. That is, by your reckoning, I should be dead. I weary thee. Hal's in his late teens. Imagine poor, now King, Charles. He's waited for the kingship for how long? I mean, his mom died in 2023. He was invested as Prince of Wales in, I think, 61, 63. 60 years. And she just kept, she's the Energizer Bunny. She just kept on going. Had to live till, I think she was 99. It's like, come on, Mom, die already. You know, I want to enjoy the kingship. Dost thou so hunger for mine empty chair that thou wilt needs invest me with my honors before thy hour be ripe? Invest me with my honors, bury me with full ceremony and such. Oh, foolish youth, thou seekst the greatness that will overwhelm thee. What does it mean to be overwhelmed? Literally, what does it mean? To be overcome. For something to smother you. That's what it means. What's going to do the smothering? Greatness. What's the greatness? Go back and watch the ceremony when King Charles was endowed, so to speak, the investiture as king. He became king the moment his mom died. Long live the king, they said to him. Literally, the last breath. Okay? He isn't invested with all the powers and authorities of king until spring of 24. It's like 8 months later. Right? Watch that ceremony. There is so much power to that, so much greatness to that. I mean, being handed the scepter, the orb, and the orb is, the ball which has the cross on it. Why? Church and state, because he's the head of the church, the English church, all that kind of stuff. The world. That's what he's getting at. Okay? He goes, you seek this honor, you seek this throne. Sonny, you don't have an idea. You don't have a clue what's involved. Same thing applies to presidents. When presidents become president, they think they have an idea of what's involved. And then they actually take the office. And they're shown all the books, so to speak. They're shown all the secrets. They're shown all the crap that's going on in the world that they've got to be cognizant of. And they're like, whoa. Read presidential memoirs. Well, presidential memoirs of the 20th century, because it wasn't like that in the 19th and late 18th centuries. Stay but a little. Stay. Hold on. Wait. For my cloud of dignity is held from falling with so weak a wind that it will quickly drop. Weak a wind? What would happen if one of you were up on a ladder up here and you're standing on like the 6-foot step, and you fall off and land on your back on the floor? You're not going to die. You're going to have what happened to you. You're going to get the wind knocked out of you. He's saying, I have so little wind left. My day is dim. It's like, I see now through darkening eyes. It's a metaphor used throughout Western culture. Death is what? It's when the darkness comes. Thou hast stolen that which after some few hours were thine without offense. It was going to be yours anyways. And at my death, thou hast sealed up my expectation. At my death, what? Sealed up. You have confirmed my expectations of you. What are his expectations created by? What are his expectations of Hal? He won't be a good king. At my death, which he's saying is just coming in a few hours, you will have sealed up, you will have confirmed all my expectations. What's he waiting for? The clouds, the fog to be dispersed. For that sun of righteousness that Hal alluded to in his first soliloquy about himself, that will shine forth. He hasn't seen it yet. Even after Shrewsbury, apparently what does Hal do? Goes back to hanging around with Falstaff. going to taverns, Thy life did manifest thou lovedst me not. Not I didn't love you. Your life has shown to me. That's the manifest. You don't love me. And thou wilt have me die assured of it. Thou hidst 1,000 daggers in thy thoughts, which thou hast whetted on thy stony heart. The daggers of the thoughts become daggers that he has sharpened on his own heart to stab at half an hour of my life.
I only have so little life left, and yet.
And it's like you're stabbing me. What? Canst thou now forbear me half an hour? You couldn't wait half an hour? Then get thee gone and dig my grave thyself, and bid the merry bells ring to thine ear that thou art crowned, not that I am dead. Why would the bells ring that he is dead? English custom. Somebody dies, the local church bell tolls for the dead person. If it's a woman, it tolls 8 times. If it's a man, it tolls 9 times. And then it tolls the number of years the person lived. He's saying, but these bells aren't going to be tolling my death. They're going to be tolling what? New king. Let all the tears that should be due my hearse be drops of balm to sanctify thy head. Why? Because sprinkling with holy water is part of the crowning process. Only compound me with forgotten dust. Compound. Join me with dust. From dust thou art, to dust thou shalt return. Give that which gave thee life unto the worms. We could go straight from here to Hamlet. Hamlet is all about death and dying and the body becoming worms, and we eat bodies that are composed of worms. Why? To fatten worms. That's the meaning of life. We exist to breed maggots, according to Hamlet, at some points in play. Give that, pluck down my officers, break my decrees. Why? For now a time has come to mock at form. Pluck down my officers means replace the people I've appointed with people you want to appoint. What does every new president do? Every one of them. We get all these new political appointments. Most new presidents, one of the first things they do is they fire all the U.S. attorneys that are appointed by the president. Why? So they can appoint attorneys who are, quote unquote, loyal to him or her, assuming we have a future woman president.
Assuming we have a future.
Well, that too. So, he says, knock down my officers, break my decrees. Every new president does what? Executive orders. The succeeding president cancel out those executive. That's what he's getting at. Why? Because now is a time to mock at form. What does he mean by form? One of the words that's been used by the press the last several years. Norms. Customs. We're destroying those norms. The king says. Or, take that back. You are going to destroy those customs. Harry V is crowned. Up, vanity. What does he mean by up? Let vanity rise up. Let us now all be vain people. Down, royal state. The idea here is, let's use modern terminology, down this high, seemingly sacred office of president. All you sage counselors, sage, wise, grave, serious. Why? What's the implication? Who's going to replace the, National Security Advisor? Falstaff. Who's going to be Attorney General? Pons. Who's going to be Secretary of State? Bardolph. Not Lord Bardolph, the one who hangs around the taverns and such. And to the English court assemble now from every region apes of idleness. Apes. He's not talking about literal apes. Inhuman people who spend their time how? Idly. Now, neighbor, confides, purge you of your scum. Have you a ruffian that will swear, drink, dance, revel the night, rob, murder, and commit the oldest sins, the newest kind of ways? Be happy. He will trouble you no more. England shall double gild his treble gilt. What does it mean to gild? To cover with gold, to make worthy, to make look fancy and nice. And what's going to be gilded? Twice? Twice plated? The triple guilt, the triple sin, so to speak. Oh, my poor kingdom, sick with civil blows. When that my care, skipping a few lines, 133, when that my care could not withhold thy riots, my care, my concern, my love could not stop what? Thy riots. Who's the thy? Is it the kingdom? Or is it Hal's? Not riots like starting a riot. Riot meaning riotous living. Whorehouses, taverns, pubs, robberies, Gad's Hill. What wilt thou do when riot is your care? What are you going to do, Hal, when you have to solve the problems of state? Oh, that will be a wilderness again, peopled with wolves, thy old inhabitants. The thy, it could imply how he is literally talking about England. Why? Because Hal is not going to be the king England needs. And it will be peopled with what? Wilderness, wolves. It'll be like, in one sense, take that back. I was going to say it'll be like Arden. It won't be like Arden. It'll be like the forest outside Athens. Because there's a difference between Arden and Athens. Notice what happens to the people when they go into Arden. They get transformed. Even Duke Sr. In there, he kind of comes to this realization, I don't need all that stuff that's in the city, that's in the court. And what happens to Duke Frederick? He literally gets transformed. He gets converted. He becomes a monk. The guy who was usurping and threatening death on people. The prince kneels. It's only after the long speech he returns the crown. How does he return it? He kneels before his father and he places it like in his knees. This is an act of supplication. It is an act of prayer. It is an act of begging mercy and forgiveness. Oh, pardon me, not my father. Pardon me, my liege. What is a liege? It is the one you are sworn vassal to. Vassal means I am your slave. I am your servant. It's part of the feudal, F-E-U-D-A-L, language of the later Middle Ages, where everyone exists in a relationship to the king. Everyone does. Those next in line are highest. They get the titles dukes, barons, earls, jarls, etc. All the way down to the lowest person digging ditches. My liege. The moist impediments unto my speech, but for my tears, the moist impediments unto my speech. His tears, he says, are doing what? They're stopping him from being able to speak clearly. It's kind of hard to talk when you're crying. Try it sometime. When you're really crying, choked up. That's why we say you're choked up. I had forestalled this dear and deep rebuke, ere you with grief had spoke, and I had heard the course of it so far. I should have prevented this speech. This speech that you just had to make never should have been said. Not because of anything the king did, because of Hal. What's Hal saying? Latin, mea culpa. My fault, my blame. There is your crown. And he that wears the crown immortally, not God. God doesn't wear a crown. Christ, the King. And he that wears the crown immortally, long guarded yours. What's that mean? What phrase is used? Long live the King. No, not half an hour. No, not 4 hours. 40 years may you live, O King. If I affect it more, then as your honor and your renown, that is, if I act like it is anything other than your honor, your renown, your favor, your fame, let me no more from this obedience rise. From this obedience. That is, he's talking about this act of humbling himself. How? Before his king. If I ever act like that is anything other than those two things I've said that are ascribed to you, don't let me ever get up off my knees. Which my most inward true and duteous spirit teacheth this prostrate and exterior bending. What's he talking about? The difference between his internal self and his external self. His soul and his body. He's saying, my soul is what? Prostrate. My soul is duteous. My soul is true. And if they're not, let me, again, forever be in this prostrate form before you. And it's interesting that he uses prostrate, because that could mean that even though we have the kneeling and returning the crown, that what Hal does is he goes down on his knees and then flat on his face. During Henry VIII's time, if Henry VIII was being led through a town somewhere on a street and the people were out, they had to fall on their faces in front of him. Okay? Crazy, we think. So he says, God witness with me, that is, he channels his Scarlet O'Hara, as God is my witness. When I came into this room and found no course of breath within your majesty, how cold it struck my heart. I didn't find you breathing. What does how cold it struck my heart mean? Multiple meanings. What's one of them?
My blood ran cold.
What happens when your blood runs cold? You're dead because it doesn't run, because it's not being pumped. He's saying, it was the death of me. You thought I was like, yay, he's dead, I get him. If I do feign, oh, let me in my present wildness die. If I'm lying, let me die how? In my wildness, in my riotous living, and never live to show the incredulous world. What is something that is incredulous? What is something that is incredible? Literally, what does it mean? Unbelievable. We think, man, that's incredible. That's a great thing, right? Incredible literally means not to be believed. So, and never live to show the incredulous world. The world will be what? Unbelieving. Of hell. What is the world now? Unbelieving of how. They don't think hell's going to amount to anything. And never live to show the incredulous world the noble change that I have purposed. What apparently does hell never do? Dad, come here. I'm pulling the wool over everybody's eyes. This is all an act. I'm really good, honorable, noble, true, loyal, faithful, justful, all that stuff. I'm just making them think I'm not, so that when the time comes, they'll be totally amazed at me. Coming to look on you, thinking you dead, and dead almost, my liege, to think you were, I spake unto this crown as having sense, and thus I upbraided it. Damn you, crown! The care on thee, that is the care attendant to the crown, and what that implies, hath fed upon the body of my father. The crown has done what to his father?
He said, I
Eaten.
thought it killed you.
It killed you. It has eaten you away. Therefore, thou best of gold art worst of gold. Why is it best of gold? It's the crown. Why is it the worst of gold? You killed my father. Other, less fine and cured, is more precious, preserving life, and medicine potable. But thou, most fine, most honored, most renowned, hast eat thy bearer up. And he's talking about gold being used in medicines in the earlier part. Thus, my royal liege, accusing it, I put it on my head to try with it. We've heard that verb before, to try. What does it mean? Test, prove. A trial is what? It is a contest. It is a conflict. It is a battle, legal trial, between prosecutor, defense attorney. He put it on his head to do what? To do battle with it. To try with it as with an enemy. Meaning, to try to get the upper hand. I tried to defeat it. That had before my face murdered my father, the quarrel of a true inheritor. But if it did infect my body with joy, that is, if when I put it on, there was a part of me that said, oh, I'm going to be king, or swell my thoughts to any strain of pride, if any rebel or vain spirit of mine did with the least affection of a welcome give entertainment to the might of it. To the might of it, two meanings. To the power of it, and might is also used to indicate what? The possibility of something. The things that the crown could open up for me. Let God forever keep it from my head. I don't want to be king. And make me as the poorest vassal is that doth with awe and terror kneel to it. Notice what he's saying with that last line. When those people in Henry VIII's day had to fall flat on their faces, they're not falling flat on their faces to Henry VIII. They're falling flat on their faces to what? The crown, not literally. What does the crown stand for? What does it represent? If we did Lear, we would hear the character named Kent say to Lear when Lear is full blown in his madness, let me kiss thy hand. And Lear says, let me wipe it first. It has the smell of death on it because all flesh dies. And Kent says it has something like the aroma of majesty. Why? He's the king. It's not just Henry the Fourth. It's not Henry Bolingbroke. It's the king. What's the king? The stand-in for God. In the medieval ideology, the king is the representative of God. Okay? Oh, my son. God put it in thy mind to take it hence, that thou mightst win the more thy father's love. God put it in your mind to take it. Why? So that you would come back in and I would accuse you and you would deliver these lines to me. This is Shakespeare showing us that idea. I mentioned this in all of my classes because almost all literature, at least all Western literature, wrestles with this issue. This idea that we do things down here. We go about our actions, we make our choices, perform our actions. Meanwhile, God is intending all of that to happen. We're totally unaware of that. This is according to Boethius in his book, The Consolation of Philosophy. We're unaware. We think, master of my destiny. Belief says, nope. We're going about our lives, we're doing, and everything works, what? In tandem. Hand in glove. Okay? Pleading so wisely in excuse of it. Come, sit. Sit thou by my bed. And here I think the very last counsel that ever I shall breathe. He's almost done. He's almost out of breath. God knows, my son, by what bypaths and indirect crooked ways I met this crown. What does he mean bypaths and crooked ways?
Like he didn't get it there.
The way is narrow. The road is narrow. The gate is narrow. The way is straight. Christ talks about the entrance to the paradise. He doesn't go the straight and narrow way to the crown. Because what's the straight and narrow way? Inheritance. You know how it came by the crown, and I myself know well how troublesome it sat upon my head. It's his way of saying, son, it doesn't really fit right. It doesn't fit well, like it wasn't made for me because of how he came by it. To thee it shall descend with better quiet, because you will inherit it. The suggestion is, even though I came by it wrongly, you will come by it rightly. You will be the rightful king, in other words. There are people today who are descended from, as an example, guy colloquially known as Bonnie Prince Charlie. Charles Stuart, who led an uprising 1745 against the British crown. Why? Because in 1710, the British crown, King of Britain, and the Scottish crown united. We've already talked about, who's monarch when Shakespeare's writing this play? Queen Elizabeth. She dies, 1603. Who becomes king? James the Sixth of Scotland becomes James the First of England. He's her cousin. Okay? But Scotland and England do not unite at that point. He's just the king of both. Scotland and England with Ireland unite in 1710. That's what gave us the United Kingdom. That's why the UK is called the United Kingdom. Okay? Prince Charlie in 1745 tried to overthrow that, which led the English armies and such to march up into Scotland and just slaughter. Wiped out the Highlanders, they forbade tartan, they forbade plaid, they forbade bagpipes, Scottish tongue, Gaelic. Scottish Gaelic was almost entirely wiped out. That's why the Scots absolutely hate the English today, as do most of the Welsh, as do most of the Irish. Okay? Where was I going with that? He's not going to have these problems. Okay? How troublesome is set upon my head, to thee it shall descend with better quiet. Better opinion, that is, the opinion of the people out there. Better confirmation. For all the soil of the achieving of this crown does what? Goes with me into the earth. How I came by the crown, that dies with me. Here's where I was going with it. Bonnie Prince Charlie claimed the crown. Why? Because he is a steward. The kings that came after Prince Charles, after King James, his son Charles, his next son Charles II, James II, they all get replaced in 1660. Take that back. 1688. All right? In 1688, you have what's called the Glorious Revolution, or the Bloodless Revolution. The Stuarts are totally removed from the monarchy. Everybody knows who becomes king? William of Orange and Mary. We have a college in Virginia, the College of William and Mary, named after them. It's from that line that we then get Queen Anne, and eventually the Windsors come in. The Windsors have no blood relation at all to the Tudors or to the Stuarts. Okay? Charlie claimed the crown because he thought it belonged to me. Why? Not generically, genetically, hereditary. Hereditary? By blood. Can't think of the right word. So, all the problems with my attaining the crown, his point is, that will die with me. You will be the rightful king. So, go on a little bit. Skip all that. Skip all that. Line 200. So thou the garland wearest success, the garland of state, essentially, the crown, wearest successively. Yet though thou standst more sure than I could do, that is, more sure, more rightly, more within justice, thou art not firm enough, since griefs are green. What griefs are green? And all my friends, which thou must make thy friends, have but their stings and teeth newly taken out. Who are his friends? Who have been newly defanged and destinged. Yeah, destingered. What did we see Prince John do in the previous scene that we discussed? He got the rebels to dismiss their armies, and then he arrested them. And his armies ran them down. He's saying, it's not going to sit easy with you at the beginning. Why? Griefs are still ripe over what happened previously. 2:11. Therefore, my Harry, be it thy course, that is, have it be your course of action, let these be your plans, to busy giddy minds with foreign quarrels. That action, hence point out, may waste the memory of the former days. Giddy minds. Let me see if my book does not give a gloss for giddy. What does it mean if you're giddy? You're bubbly, airhead, foolish minds. So he's saying, Harry, when I'm dead, here's what you should do. Keep minds busy with what? Foreign quarrels. None of you guys are old enough to remember this. 1998, just before, what? Okay. Just before Bill Clinton was impeached by the Republican House of Representatives, after the Monica Lewinsky scandal blew up and everything, he came on the news one night, we've launched missiles into Sudan. Why? Terrorists, Osama bin Laden actually. We think he's building bombs in a Sudan, I think it was aspirin factory. All the news media said, this is a wag the dog case. Now, what the hell is a wag the dog case? There had been a movie out about 3 or 4 years earlier called Wag the Dog. And it was about a president who was caught in a scandal. And in order to divert attention away from the scandal, he tries to wag the dog. That is, shake something shiny and glittery in front of people to divert their attention. Okay? That's what is talked about here. With what? Foreign quarrels. The next play opens, Henry V, with it being 1415, and we're going to have King Henry V invade France. It's not the beginning of, it's not quite the middle, they're it's about a middle way in to what are called the 100 Years' Wars. 100 Years' War with France. It's actually all told more like 130 years, but they weren't at war the entire time. Okay? So, why? Because that action, that launching a battle, and bear in mind, this is not like the president from the Situation Room sending a B-52 or other kind of bomber halfway around the world, stealth bomber, etc. This is, you go lead the troops. Why? It will waste the memory of the former days. What former days? Two different ones he's talking about. I don't mean two different days. Two different things. The griefs that have bound up the country. Okay? That's one thing. What else? The former days of King Henry V, meaning when he was Prince Hal and just screwing around all the time. It will focus people's attention to what? You're a warrior. You are leading your people. More would I, that is, I have more to say, I would give you more advice. Notice in almost every conversation, the two plays, that King Henry IV has with his son, they're what? This is how to be a good king. You are seen too much by people, not a good king, etc. So, but my lungs are wasted so that strength of speech is utterly denied me. How I came by the crown, God forgive. And grant it may with thee in true peace live. What was he getting ready to do at the beginning of the first Henry IV play? Or what was he talking about, planning about? Let's go save Jerusalem from the Muslims. Go free it. Do it for Jesus. And the implication is it is a good work that will help cleanse us, cleanse me. All right? Lancaster comes in with Warwick and others. And the king says, thou bringest me happiness and peace, son John, but health alack with youthful wings is flown. Because Prince John says, health, peace, happiness to my father. He goes, well, 1 out of 3, that's not bad. Upon thy sight my worldly business makes a period. What does it mean to make a period? Period is an end of a sentence, right? What is a sentence? Literally, what is a sentence? It's an idea. That's what a sentence is. Sententiae means thoughts. Okay? Seeing you, my worldly business has what? It's come to an end. And what he means by that is, you're alive. My job is done. He's not dead yet, but within minutes he will be. The prince, my lord of Warwick? What's he mean? Warwick comes forward. The king says, where am I? That's what, doth any name particularly belong unto the lodging where I first did swoon? That is, where I first passed out. Where? He's not at the castle. He's not in his own hall. 'Tis called Jerusalem, my noble lord. That is, the place we are staying is called, like, the Jerusalem. You can go to various towns in England. There's a place in Oxford called Jerusalem, as an example. Not a building, it's like a district. Meaning he's going to die where? In Jerusalem, which is the city of peace. That's what it literally means, city of peace. He's also going to die where? Having metaphorically achieved that crusade. Not achieved it, cleansed it of Saracens and such. King, laud, praise, that's what laud means, be to God, even there, in Jerusalem, my life must end. It hath been prophesied to me many years, I should not die, but in Jerusalem. That's why he wanted to go to Jerusalem at the beginning of the first play, to die there. Medieval Catholic ideology, belief system, if you died on a pilgrimage trying to rescue free one of the great cities of the Holy Land, straight to heaven. You even bypass purgatory. Just whoosh, automatic saint. Okay? Which vainly I supposed the Holy Land. But bear me to that chamber. There I'll lie. That is the chamber where he was lying before. In that Jerusalem shall Harry die. They bear him out. Okay? 5:2. Skipping 5:1. Warwick asks the Chief Justice, how's the king? He asked the Chief Justice, where are you going? The Chief Justice, how's the king? Exceeding well, his cares are now all ended. Notice, exceeding well. He is more than well. Why? All cares of the body are gone. All cares of the soul are gone. Kind of. Depends on kind of which part of Catholic theology from the Middle Ages you accept. Okay? I hope not dead. He's walked the way of nature. And to our purposes, he lives no more. To our purposes. What are their purposes? What's the Chief Justice's purpose? His job. Justice. He's the Attorney General. He administers justice for the crown. Okay? So, to our purposes, which are the cares of state with the king. He serves no purpose. I would His Majesty had called me with him. This is an idea we see again, and again in Shakespeare. Some advisor, some counselor, someone close to either a major titular character or another very major character, who when that titular character or the major character dies, this person says, let me go with you. Let me die with you, or I will die with you. We see it in Lear, we see it in Hamlet, we see it here, we see it in Julius Caesar. It's this idea of life here is not worth living without you. Not in the stupid Romeo and Juliet way. Oh, all for love. Or Antony and Cleopatra. But this idea of I am bound to you. Like, not that you complete me, but wherever you go, I will be loyal to you. I am your sworn aid, so to speak. I would His Majesty had called me with him. The service that I truly did his life hath left me open to all injuries. So he gives us another reason why he wished he could die with the king. With the king dead, what's the Chief Justice saying? I'm a target. Why? Remove the king, and those who were under him are all now suspect and possible targets by the what? The new king. Warwick. Indeed, I think the young king loves you not. Hal. Why would Hal not love the Chief Justice? We're going to see in just a moment a conversation between them. How has the Chief Justice treated Falstaff? He says earlier in this play, one of the scenes we didn't discuss, you need to read all those scenes, even though we didn't discuss them. He says in one of those scenes, Okay, Falstaff, you know, you bought yourself a little time with how you acted at Shrewsbury. And what does he mean by, the Chief Justice kind of says, what do I mean by you bought yourself a little time? What you did at Shrewsbury has caused me to overlook what you did against Hill, the robbery. Okay? I think the king doesn't love you. Chief Justice, I know he doth not, and do arm myself to welcome the condition of the time. He's not talking about literally arming up. He means I'm preparing myself, which cannot look more hideously upon me than I have drawn it in my fantasy. That is the condition of the time. What's the time? The new king, the new world, he says, is not going to be favorable to me. Prince John of Lancaster comes in with Thomas of Clarence and Humphrey of Gloucester. All three of those brothers of the king. Okay? Here comes the heavy issue of dead Harry. Why are they heavy? Are these guys massive? Are they grotesquely obese? Nope. They're borne down, they're weighted down with sorrow over their dead father. Oh, that the living Harry had the temper of he. Now, temper doesn't mean just, it partially means what we understand as temper. What does it really mean, though? The mood, the way he carries himself, okay? The behavior of Henry IV, the worst of these three gentlemen. How many nobles then should hold their places that must strike sail to spirits of vile sort? Strike sail to spirits of vile sort means how many nobles, in order to keep their places, must do what? Pretend to be friends with Falstaff. Start hanging out at houses of ill repute and such. Again, use a modern example. I'm not knocking anybody. I'm just playing upon a modern stereotype that's been given of someone, okay? I'm not judging this person by any means. It'd be like prior to January 20th of this year, Joe Biden dying and Hunter Biden becoming president. Democrats, Republicans alike are kind of like, you know, there's some shady going on there. Weird stuff. That's what he's getting at. World's going to be a very, very different place. Okay, so they keep talking. 33-34. Duke of Clarence, okay, Thomas, says to the Chief Justice, well, you must now speak Sir John Falstaff fair, which swims against your stream of quality. You have to speak beautifully of Falstaff. That's one meaning. What does it really mean? You have to say, Sir John Falstaff is a good man. He is a noble man. He is an honorable man. Which does what? Swims against your stream of quality. That is, which goes against your understanding, your belief of what is good, what is true, what is honorable. My dear Lord Chief Justice, you're going to have to lie through your teeth in order to keep living. Sweet Princess, line 35. What I did in honor. That is, what I did as Chief Justice, fulfilling my duties as in that position, led by the impartial conduct of my soul. That is, it's not that I don't like Falstaff, it's that Falstaff what? He broke the law. And never shall you see that I will beg a ragged and forestalled remission. Nope. Not going to do it. I'm not going to call something good that isn't good. If truth and upright innocency fail me, I'll to the king, my master that is dead, and tell him who hath sent me after him. If I've got to say black is white and white is black, good is bad and bad is good, I'll do what? How will I die? I'll kill myself. And I'll go tell the king what things are like down here. The king comes in. Enter the prince. Notice, as Henry V. So why does it say enter the prince? The stage directions, as far as we know, are not Shakespeare's. These are what are printed in the first folio. Okay? Chief Justice, good morrow, and God save your majesty. This new and gorgeous garment, majesty. There's a psalm that says, the Lord hath girded himself, he hath robed himself in majesty. It's probably where the English get this idea. Okay? This new and gorgeous garment, what? Majesty. It's something he is put on, but it's also something that he now inhabits. Sits not so easy on me as you think. Because he says, God save your majesty. He's like, I'm not as majestic as you think I am. Brothers, you mix your sadness with some fear. What's the fear they mix their sadness with? He's going to be a bad king. Why else? Maybe. The prince doesn't have any children. What happens if he dies? Next eldest becomes king. And what happens if he dies? Next eldest becomes king. Watch, it's the Neil Gaiman movie, Stardust. You got the 7 brothers in that. The book's much better, by the way. In the book, they each want to be king. What do they have to do? Knock the eldest one off. Okay? That's the fear. Their fear is he will do what? Be afraid of him, and so he'll have them knocked off. Okay? This is the English, not the Turkish court. Not Amurath, and Amurath succeeds, but Harry. In other words, I'm not going to kill you out of fear that you're going to try to kill me. Be sad, good brothers, for by my faith it very well becomes you. That is, it is fitting. You should be sad. Not because of me, because of our dead father. Sorrow so royally in you appears that I will deeply put the fashion on and wear it in my heart. Why then be sad? But entertain no more of it, good brothers, than a joint burden laid upon us all. In other words, you don't need to feign sadness, and there's nothing more to be sad of than that our father is dead. You don't need to be sad that I'm king. For me, by heaven, I bid you be assured, I'll be your father and your brother too. What does he mean by I'll be your father?
I'll guide you.
Because what should a king really be to his people? Should be like a father to them. Number one point behind that, protector. 2, provider, all that stuff. What else? I'll be your father and your brother too. Let me but bear your love. That is, show your love to me. Shower it upon me so that I bear it. I'll bear your cares. Again, the king is what? Representative of God. Crown has a cross on it. Why? To bear the cares of the people. It's not an accident that King Henry II can't fall asleep. What keeps him awake when we first see him? The cares of the crown. If we were to read, and there's a slight chance we might still, just while I'm talking, my brain's going, do Henry V, do Henry. Right before Agincourt, Henry, in disguise, the king, in disguise, walks around his army and listens to their conversations as they talk about the king. It's partly what leads him to do that great St. Crispin speech. Okay? So he goes on. I'll bear your cares, yet weep that Harry's dead, and so will I. But Harry lives that shall convert those tears, your tears of sadness, what? By number, that is, by multiplication, into hours of happiness. What are they expecting? They're expecting what everybody else in the kingdom is expecting. Horrible king. He's going, give me a chance. I'll show you. Okay? So, the princes, we hope no otherwise from your majesty. Well, how's that for a very open-ended statement? That can be interpreted a whole number of ways, and the king understands it. You all look strangely on me. That is, they're kind of giving him the side eye, like, keep one hand on the dagger just in case. And you most, he points out to Chief Justice, you are, I think, assured I love you not? I am assured, that is, it's been told to me, that if I be measured rightly, your majesty hath no just cause to hate me. No just, no right cause. King, no? Ooh, that's pretty presumptuous. It's implied. How might a prince of my great hopes forget so great indignities you laid upon me? What? Rate, rebuke, roughly sent to prison the immediate heir of England? The Gad's Hill robbery led to the threat of imprisonment. Was this easy? That is, was it easy for me to bear? May this be washed in Lethe, the river you step in before you go from purgatory to heaven. Wipes away all sins and all memories of sin. And forgotten. You think I can wipe away all the stuff you did to me? Chief Justice. I lied. We're almost going to finish. I then did use the person of your father. That is, I was acting in the person of your father. He gave me authority to do that. The image of his power lay then in me and in the administration of his law. He says, I was working for the good of the commonwealth, blah, blah, blah. If you did ill, then, well, you know, you had to suffer that. Okay? What I have done, line 90, line 100, what I have done that misbecame my place, my person, as your king, speak in your state what I have done that misbecame my place, my person, or my liege's sovereignty. In your power as king, tell me if I ever acted wrongly. That's a challenge. You are right, Justice. Now that can mean you are right, comma, Justice, or you are 100% justice. Everything you did was right. I was in the wrong. And you weigh this well. Still bear the balance and the sword. I do wish your honors may, you're still Chief Justice. I wish your honors may increase, your state, your reputation, till you do live to see a son of mine, what? Offend you and obey you. May you be to my son what you were to me. What's his real point? You've taught me well. So shall I live to speak my father's words. Happy am I that have a man so bold that dares do justice on my proper son. And he gives this big long speech all about what? Chief Justice, you've got the job, and etc. Okay? 5.3 we're skipping. 5.5. 6 minutes. Yeah, we might finish. He's brought in now in robes of state. The king is. Pretty much the same kind of robes that King Charles wears when he opens Parliament and all that kind of stuff. Okay? Shallow, Mr. Shallow, Falstaff's there, pistols there. Okay? After line 38, enter the king and his train, the Lord Chief Justice among them. Falstaff yells out, God save thy grace, King Hal, my royal Hal. Kenneth Brownell's version, by the way, is the hands down best version of Henry V. But this scene of Henry IV, part 2, this scene, Falstaff's kind of moving to the front of the crowd. Pistol, the heavens thee guard and keep thee, most royal imp of fame. They're calling the king an imp. God save thee, my sweet boy. And the king says, my Lord Chief Justice, speak to that vain man. Why does he call Falstaff vain?
He thinks he's foolish.
No, well, possibly.
He kind of uses his proximity to.
He thinks he's foolish because Falstaff is assuming what?
Difference.
What do you mean? Who said difference?
No, I said they're friends.
Oh, that they're friends. Yeah. Falstaff assumes nothing's changed. That's why he's vain. Falstaff is assuming he still has the kind of influence and control and power. He's being vain about himself that he had before. Okay? Chief Justice, have you your wits? Modern English, who the hell do you think you are? This is the king. Know you what 'tis you speak? My king, my Jove, I speak to thee my heart. If that could imply when he says my king, my Jove, that could mean that Falstaff is suggesting he's like Ganymede to Jove, the serving man, and in, many versions of the mythology, lover. Okay? I know thee not, old man. Why? Who is this? Give his real name. King Henry V. What happened to Prince Hal? He's dead. The prince that was is no more. Why? He is now invested with all the office, power, authority of the king. Just like every one of you will in one sense die when some big change occurs to your life. You get married. The you that were there before you got married, it's not the same person. You have a child, whether you're a woman and you have the child, or you're a father, what you were before is not the same. It changes. That's what Shakespeare's getting at. He gives this long speech, and he says to Falstaff, being awaked, I do despise my dream. We're back at the Midsummer Night's Dream. What does he despise? His former life was like a dream. It was a premonition. This is the real life. Make less thy body hence and more thy grace. Leave gormandizing. He starts giving advice. Stop being a glutton. Know the grave doth gape for thee thrice wider than for other men. You're so fat, Falstaff. Lose some weight. Reply not to me with a fool. It's like Falstaff opens his mouth, he goes, presume not that I am the thing I was. For God doth know, so shall the world perceive. I have turned away my former self. Same kind of language we saw in As You Like It. The idea of transformation, becoming something other than what one was. And not just something equal, it's a rising up. It's a rising above. Okay? so will I those that kept me company. That is, I will turn away from them. When thou dost hear I am as I have been, when you hear that I'm hanging around whorehouses, then approach me. Because when's that going to happen? Never. And thou shalt be as thou wast, the tutor and the feeder of my riots. Till then I banish thee on pain of death, not to come near our person. Why our?
Said, I'm no longer just me. I
The
represent.
royal we. The monarch says we. Why? Because I am the state. I am the kingdom as well as the king. For competence of life, I will allow you. That is, I'm going to give you Social Security. I'm going to give you a pension, Falstaff. You're not going to starve. You're going to have a house. Okay? And if you reform, I will give you advancement. That is, you will be able to rise up. You will be able to become like me more than what you are. Okay? We're going to stop there. Today's Wednesday. Monday we're going to start. Monday we're going to start Hamlet. I'm going to spend maybe 10 minutes on the very end of this. It's not that long. It's going to take long. Read the first 2 acts of Hamlet, okay? There's not going to be a quiz over the Henry II. I literally spent an hour and a half yesterday, and I got like 2 questions. And I was like, because every question I came up with, you wouldn't be able to do it without a book in front of you. Because it'd be cruel, because you'd all get zeros. I'm not ascribing lack of intellect to it, but they were all just really nitpicky. That's why we're going to do the exam, have an exam over these 2 plays. And I'll send that out probably later on today. All right, so first 2 acts of Hamlet, we'll be lucky if we get through the first act.